following is my own true story from my personal experience. I do not speak on behalf of the United States Marine Corps or any other U.S. Marine. This is my own story. If your experience is different, I cannot speak on that.
In the Marines, you will get piss tested constantly. However, military piss tests are not like civilian ones. In the civilian world, you show up to your clinic, you sign in, and they bring you to a nice private little bathroom or stall and give you a nice little cup to do the deed into. By deed, I mean pee and not the other thing. And then once you're done, you leave the little cup they gave you in the toilet, or not in the toilet, on the toilet, and then you check out. That is not the case in the Marines. The piss test, or I like to refer to as the diddling, is something that from day one of the military you will be doing all the way until your contract ends. Or until you die, but hopefully not that. If you are a person that gets pee shy, meaning that when you are being watched or pressured you find it hard to pee, let's just say you're gonna have a real great time in the military. I mean, there was a time when we literally had like 3 to a urinal, but whatever, I'm getting off track. That's a story for another time. So when it comes to military piss tests, or urinalysis as they call it, this is how it usually goes. Every month a piss test roster comes out with the names of the unlucky chosen few who have to then head to wherever the piss test is being administered, which is almost always at a bathroom, or as we call it, the head. Now, while piss tests are conducted monthly, I have seen people pulled aside for piss tests, either individually or not within that monthly schedule. There was most likely a special reason, but just know that shit is not sweet, even if you don't find yourself on the list for that month. Also, the names on the list are pulled randomly, so you can luck out and you can go months without being diddled. Or like me at one point, end up hitting the PP roster like 3 times in a row. So anyways, you get to where the urinalysis is taking place, and usually it's in the middle of a workday, so you're usually in your camis. You take off your blouse and you go into what's called boots and utes. If you don't know what that is, check out my first video. Now, here's another thing about these tests. Usually you have 0 warning when they're taking place until you get the roster. So you often get caught at weird times. I mean, sidetrack, but I remember this one time I literally just used the bathroom and I got a text right afterwards by my platoon sergeant telling me to take a piss test. And so for the next hour I was just standing outside the bathroom chugging water and hating my life because I didn't have to pee. Anyways, getting back on track. So after going into boots and utes, you sign in and then you choose an empty cup, where then you place down your military ID in the place of where that cup was. After grabbing the cup, you then take off the lid and you're supposed to examine it and give verbal approval that you want this container. That way you can't claim in the future if it was contaminated or something crazy like that if you do pop positive down the line. You then get escorted by one of the people administering the piss test, and so the entire time to the bathroom you are holding your piss cup over your shoulders in plain view so that everyone can keep an eye on it and make sure you're not doing anything like devious or something. You then go to the urinal where that person escorting you, usually it's a Navy corpsman or another Marine, has to then physically watch the pee leave your dingling. Like I said, this is not your civilian piss test. I was never one of the unlucky Marines asked to PP watch during a piss test, but I do believe that it is an actual requirement that you have to watch the pee physically leave the person's privates during the test. So here is where I have to talk about the 3 types of piss test escorts, starting with the first type and my favorite, the chill one. The chill piss test escort usually stands back to the side unless you do your thing, or maybe glances quickly down after you pull down your pants and then takes a step back. Now, some people may hear that and say, oh, well, that person isn't doing their job. But to be honest, as long as that person is there, you can't really cheat on the piss test. Remember, you are in boots and utes right now. You have a thin green t-shirt on top, and sure, you have your cami bottoms with a bunch of pockets, but you can't easily access them once you unbutton your pants and drop them without it being really obvious. Not to mention that you have other Marines also taking the piss test, and they have their own escorts too. And then on top of all that, you have Marines going in and out of the bathroom, usually to, use the bathroom. So even if your guy isn't paying attention, someone will notice if you pull out some devious contraption to cheat on the test with. And what are you gonna do? Bribe everyone? How are you gonna know who's gonna escort you? How are you gonna know who's gonna come in and out of the bathroom? And so anyways, you get the point. The chill guy I love because he's doing his job still and it doesn't feel like I'm getting diddled. The second guy is what I call the by the books. There's nothing much to explain here other than the fact that he probably hates his life and he has to stare at private parts all day long. He will watch your ding-a-ling from start to finish, sure, but he doesn't do much more than that. And usually he hates his life as much as the guy taking the piss test is. And now we get to the last and most diabolical type. The diddler. This guy does way too goddamn much. He low-key enjoys his job a little bit too much. In fact, you will feel like you got diddled afterwards. I mean, there was a time where I was told to go to this piss test pretty early, right, in the morning. And I happened to be close by to where the piss test was being held. So when I got there, it was really only just me and like 3 other people who were running the piss test for that day. I sign in and one of the corpsmen takes me to the urinal where I'm gonna, do my thing. Well, we get to the urinal, and mind you, I'm 5'11" in real life, but this guy was more than a head taller than me. He had to be at least 6'3" or 6'4". I start unbuttoning my pants, and you usually leave room between you and the urinal so you can, grab the cup and you can do your thing, but also so your piss test guardian can see what you're doing, and so, I left a gap and all that. Well, this guy stands like almost directly behind me, and he is close. Like he's almost straddling me. Now keep in mind, this guy is towering over me the entire time also. I low-key felt like I was getting diddled. I keep it cool, and I assume this guy's just spacing out, and so I stop for a second and go, oh, my bad, man, I'll give you some space. Space meaning so he can stand to my left and watch me piss instead of straddling my ass. Dude moves over to the left, and he doesn't say shit. He doesn't acknowledge me, he doesn't make any sort of noise, he just steps to my left, dead silent. Whatever, this is the Marines, I can deal with it. I start pissing, and this dude slightly leans in where he's so awkwardly close to me that I'm getting really uncomfortable, and he just stares. Dude stares like he's bird watching or some shit, Like, dude had the most intense stare in his eyes that I've seen another man have while watching another man's meat. And I'm not gonna lie, at this point, I thought it's wraps. That's it, curtains, I'm gonna get diddled. I mean, this guy was probably the diddler. And so I continue to do my thing the entire time, and he doesn't say shit. I finish up and leave, and let me tell you, I felt violated afterwards. More than usual for a piss test. The point in all this is that if you enlist, you will inevitably sign away a lot of rights and comforts that you're used to as a civilian, that being privacy and beyond. But also that you can't feasibly cheat in a military piss test, at least from what I've seen. So think twice before you start puffing on that reefer. Oh yeah, which reminds me, by the way, I have a funny ass story about a guy that smoked weed in the Marines. That's a story for another time, and if you want to hear more stories or about that story in particular, just let me know. So thank you for watching, and this is a special video I made for hitting the 6,000 sub mark, which I'm very, 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 very thankful for. Like and sub if you want more, and peace out.